We ready? Oh, we are. Welcome back into episode 14 of the Ohio State of Mind podcast. I am your host, Michael Chen. Alongside of me on the other side is Joshua Keatley. Both of us write for Buckeyes Wire of the USA Today College Network. And Ohio State has done a ton of player movement since we last talked to you on Wednesday. And Caleb Downs, Julian Sayin, Dominic Kirks. And let's get right into it, Josh. Obviously, the biggest, most important addition of those three is Caleb Downs, elite safety from Alabama. And that in a safety-driven Jim Knowles defense, to have that kind of player join your club, it is just it's hard to say really how awesome that is. Really, it just it's just amazing to see that. What were your initial thoughts on Downs making that choice and choosing the Buckeyes over Georgia?
Yeah, so my first initial reaction was I was very shocked. You and I both, I feel like we kind of travel in the same circles, and the common thing that we were hearing was that it was dead and done. I think even when we reported last week, we were kind of told, hey, by people that were close to him in the circles, were saying it's done, it's dead, he's going to Georgia. So obviously when I read that he was coming to Ohio State, that was something that I not only double checked and triple checked, but I checked it 5 or 6 times from different sources just to make sure before I started peeing in my pants with excitement. He's a very good player. He's a great player. I on this very podcast last week, it's very important that I don't sound like I'm going back and forth on my stances. Last week I said that, hey, if we don't get him, it's not the end of the world, and I stand by that. This is another present under the Christmas tree, or that present you find in stocking stuff.
It's the big present. It's the big present.
Yeah, but it wasn't something that was needed, right? You kind of got all the gifts that you really wanted. But he's great, freshman All-American, led Alabama in tackles last year as a true freshman, which is almost impossible given the talent that they had. I mean, this is a team that went to the college football playoffs and was arguably one of the best teams in college football. And he accomplished all that. This is a guy that's allowed. Not only is he a great football player, but he allows this Ohio State defense to have a level of freedom that is pretty incomparable. We talked about it's a notch down below Seth McLaughlin on the offensive line, but it's also different. It's also more like Quinshon Judkins with his talent, if that makes sense. So I still think Seth McLaughlin and Quinshon Judkins are probably higher on my transfer list. But the thing about Caleb Downs is that, hopefully this allows this defense to truly unlock Sonny Styles, maybe move him down, allow maybe a rotational piece with CJ Hicks. It allows you some freedom there. It allows you to do a lot with those defensive backs, because now they're sitting there with 5 or 6 defensive backs that can play. You still got Jahad Carter from Syracuse. You still got Lorenzo Styles Jr., who took a red shirt last year. You still got Jordan Hancock, who's going to be playing nickel. You still got Lathan Ransom coming back. I mean, you got Malik Hartford, who was very competitive the time he did get to play. You still got Jermaine Matthews. We're going to throw CJ Hicks in there, Gabe Powers in there, Cody Simon in there, because that second level and third level are kind of going to be interchangeable for some of those spots. So he allows you a lot of freedom. It's very exciting. It's very exciting. Honestly, I'll let you go about Caleb Downs before we talk about the next guy.
Okay. So, to me, I think that, like you said, the defensive versatility has just gone up a notch, because this guy, not only is he a great on-ball defender, you can put him in a corner spot if you need to. He can blitz. He can move down and play, the bandit or whatever they call it. He's the versatility that he brings to this defense is just there's not a lot of players across the country that can do what he can do. Which, when you add in that to an already strong secondary room that made a huge bounce back. I mean, like a major bounce back, because 2 years ago they were bad, really, really bad. And Jim Knowles figured it out this past year. Again, and I'm going to harp on the Davison Igbinosun thing. I think he brought this fire that continues to burn in that room, and the edge just kind of transfers over to Caleb Downs, because this guy is someone that can do it all. And not only that, I think I wouldn't say it 100% solves our return game, but he's going to return punts. He's going to return kicks. Something that I read as well is that he wants to play some snaps on offense. Now, everything that I've read, everything that I've heard, I've talked, I've listened to a couple of podcasts, as well. And, I highly value 247 Sports, Steve Wilfong. And he talked about it like this. He pretty much said, look, Caleb Downs, if he wanted to be a running back, he could be an elite running back. That's how good of a player he is. And to have him on your roster when it's just like it just didn't seem like that was going to be the case. His home state's Georgia. He did have Ohio State in his top two when he made his decision to go to Alabama. So for him to come here, it's not a huge shock, but in the grand scheme of things, for a northern school to go down to SEC country and to grab a player like him, this is actually something that I wrote, in my 5 things to be excited about Caleb Downs. It wasn't just about him as a player. It was the fact that Ryan Day decided, hey, you know what? I'm just going to go balls to the wall. I'm going to go do this, and I'm going to go get a player that we don't necessarily need, but upgrade the whole defense by just being there and having the ability that he has. And I think that, at the end of the day, we're going to look back at this secondary in 2024, and we're probably going to rank it as one of the best secondaries that Ohio State's ever had. It's that deep. It's that strong. There's multiple first-round draft picks on there. And we've seen that before. The Buckeyes have had many years where they've had 2-3 corners, a safety that's going to get drafted high. But I think this specific secondary rivals a lot of those. Now, obviously, they have to perform well in the field. On paper, they're going to match up with some of the greatest Ohio State secondaries that we've ever seen. And I'm so excited to see, the spring game can't get here any sooner. I just want to get a glimpse of what this 24 team is going to be. Because again, it's not just Downs. There's multiple guys that have been added that make this team better. And you mentioned one of them, or you mentioned a couple of them, in McLaughlin and Judkins. You can't forget Will Howard. Yep. I think that he shores up, he's a stopgap to probably the next guy we're going to talk about. But I love the fact that Ryan Day was like, you know what? I don't care anymore. It's time to win. And that's what we needed to see. This is Urban Meyer type of stuff that we saw. And it's unprecedented, I think, because the amount of talent that is on this team, on paper, again, they have to perform, right? They have to perform. And they have to do it on the field. But right now, when you look at this roster, top to bottom, man, it is going to be hard. Aside from maybe Georgia, it's going to be hard to say another team's like just talent-wise is better than the Buckeyes. And it's just, I'm still like, I'm a loss of words still at Caleb Downs, because you just gotta you wake up every morning, you're like, the Buckeyes got Caleb Downs. It's just like, wow, it's just amazing. And I think that, it's another testament to, and I'm going to continue to say this. It's a testament to what Ryan Day has decided to do. Nobody said, hey, you got to go fire some coaches and make some moves. And that's something that we're going to talk about in a couple minutes as well. Nobody said he had to do that, but he realized, yeah, okay, we don't know. We said it, but we're not in that room. We don't know what the hell's going on. We're not in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center going into meetings and seeing what he has to say to all these other coaches and stuff like that. But from the outside looking in, he wasn't forced to, nobody publicly came out and said, hey man, your job's on the line. Not once was that ever said. Obviously Gene Smith moving on, which Bjork, I don't know if that puts him in a tough position, but what Ryan Day did this offseason, and hats off to him for realizing that he needs to be ruthless, not just on the field, but off the field. And he did it. And it's great to see.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're saying the same thing, but we're different. I want to give Ryan Day praise for, unsheathing the sword, right? He's going to battle. I understand. I think that's great. I want to give him credit for doing that. We're going to kind of talk about some more moves that he made that show that he's ready. He understands what needs to occur. I do think his back is against the wall. I do think conversations were happening. I do think that he understands that if he doesn't perform this year, he's out. I think this is a great team. This is a national championship caliber team. This is probably the best defensive backfield since, I don't know, what was it, the year we had, Jeff Okudah, Damon Arnett were both first-round draft picks.
Like 16, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I can't remember. I'm just trying to grasp the straws. Jordan Fuller also was drafted that year. Wasn't super high, but we have, has been very good in the NFL. Those three guys were very, very good. If you go back to the years where to get Sean Springs, Antoine Winfield, the same backfield.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's been some great defensive backfields, but honestly, if you look at it, I mean, from a pure recruiting rankings perspective, this is, hands down the best Ohio State defensive backfield.
4s and 5 stars, man. High 4 stars.
They're all 4 and 5 stars. Yeah, they're all 4 and 5 stars. So
there's no reaches.
Yeah, so it's inarguable. Yeah, and with this schedule too, if you're ranking all the schedules in the Big Ten, Ohio State's is definitely in the bottom half. It lines up perfectly for them to run the table and do what they need to do. Really, realistically, they only got 3 games, right? Oregon, Penn State, Michigan, right? There's no tough out-of-conference game. So, and with the expanded playoffs, realistically, he loses 2 of those games. They're still in.
I think so.
Now, my expectations are different than everybody else's. I'm going to be very upset if they're not walking in with the Big Ten championship. But needless to say, he's still going to have an opportunity at a crack at that national championship in case something horrible happens. So, yeah, very exciting. Very exciting.
Agreed. All right, let's talk about that next guy on your list.
Yeah, Julian saying the court. Am I saying his name right? You're the recruiting expert.
Yep, say it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and I want to reiterate, Michael is the recruiting expert. I am many times when I talk about recruiting, I'm talking a bit out of my ass because I don't dive into the tape like you do, right? A lot of times I don't even watch a guy. You write those articles about, guys from 2025, 2026 committing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even watch those guys until ink hits paper. Because you just, in today's day and age with the NIL, you just never know when these guys are going to back out. And this is a perfect example. But obviously, there are certain recruits that are so magnified that you have to take a peek. Jeremiah Smith, for instance, Arch Manning, Quinn Ewers, right? These are guys that are just so, Chase Young was kind of like that. Even Dwayne Haskins, when he was in the Army All-American game, was kind of like that. There's just certain prospects you got to take a peek at early. And this kid is one of them, and he slings the ball like if we were having the conversation about the quarterback room before Will Howard came in, I would say that guy's starting. He's from what I see and from I'm hearing from others, he is that good. He is a day one starter guy. I've heard from some people that they wouldn't put it past him to beat out Will Howard. Now, I don't know how. I don't think that that's realistic because they're clearly paying Will Howard. So, I don't think that would go over very well. But I fully expect him to be the number 2, and I fully expect him to make it interesting. This is a big get in my eyes.
Monster. I can't disagree with you. And you kind of feel a little bit for Aaron Noland as well because, hey, look, Ohio State signed him and obviously picked up Sand afterwards. However, Noland has come out and said, hey, look, I'm coming in here to compete. I don't expect Nolan to be on that transfer watch. The 2 guys that I do, that's it's Keen Holtz and it's Devin Brown. I think those are the 2 guys that probably look at those 2 guys that came in and they're like, oh man, yeah, okay, let's be real here. Keen Holtz 4-star, Brown 5-star. They're still good players, but they've been in the system multiple years. They haven't been able to crack that starting lineup. Brown obviously with McCord had they battled it out and McCord won. And if McCord won and he was the better option, which, at the end of the day, he probably was within that room from last year.
Yeah. 100%.
Then, maybe Brown isn't that guy. But I will say this, though. After watching Julian Sand's tape, and I'm going to get at some point in time, I'm going to do a scout's view on Julian Sand within the next couple of days here. I watched his junior highlight film and his senior highlight film because I wanted to see, what was the progression. The dude just is awesome. Absolutely awesome. He's never going to be, viewed as a dual threat type of guy, but he's got wheels. He can move. He can run the ball. He's not Justin Fields running the ball, but he can get out of the pocket and he can make things happen. He can pick up those first downs, right? his throwing ability is just so elite. Won the Elite 11. He was the MVP of that camp. Just, you know, just looking at the way that
he won it over the dude that our chat Raiola. He won it over Raiola, who was, you know, this little precious egg that we were hoping to guide to Columbus for 4 years. That's a big deal. That's not talked about enough.
No. And I agree with you, because at the end of the day, he went out there and he backed up what everyone thought he was. And, you know, he put up like his pro day numbers. He scored a 49 out of 50 at the Elite 11. That's absurd. Like, absolutely absurd. That's crazy numbers, right? And, you know, Ohio State has had multiple guys who won the Elite 11. Justin Fields won the Elite 11. You know, so it's not like we haven't seen this before. But for Ryan Day to continue to stack that room, and it's, you know, 25 is going to be the year where we see which one wins the race. And it's hard for me to say that Aaron Nolan's going to do it, because I've watched both of their film. And Nolan, yes, you have to understand his junior season was just amazing, absolutely amazing. He dealt with some injuries his senior year, so he didn't put up quite the numbers that he did over the course of his junior year. But if you were to ask me which recruit is better, it's Julian Sayin. And he's got this, like, his touch is like a touch of a 10-year NFL vet. He sees the field extremely well. His pocket presence is awesome. He understands when to move and when not to. He's not just going to stand there. You know, you watch in the NFL and you're like, why are these guys just sitting in the pocket, not moving out and creating that space, giving the wide receivers another second or two to get open? He does that. He's got this, like, football IQ that is just on a different level for an 18-year-old kid. He might be 19 actually right now, but still, regardless, for his age, the understanding of the game, the small intricacies, the minute little details, he gets all of that. And, you know, Ohio State was, and if you scroll out through his Twitter, which I did, just because I was bored and, you know, I wanted to learn a little bit more about him. Ohio State came in afterwards. They came in a little bit late with the offer, right? He said that there's only one other school that he considered aside from Alabama, and that was Ohio State. And if you look through, and he's probably got offers from everybody. Like, come on, let's be real. He's going to have offers from everybody, right? And literally, if you scroll through his Twitter and you see the only other offer that he tweeted out was the Ohio State offer. And that was after he was committed to Alabama. So I think that, you know, he really didn't consider any other school when he entered the transfer portal aside from Ohio State. You know, there was some talk about USC potentially, but the conversation that Ryan Day had with his staff, that was really the end point of it. He said, you know what, we can bring in one of the elite talented quarterback in the 25 class, even though we already signed Aaron Nolan. I mean, when have you seen a pair of quarterbacks be ranked in the top, you know, 40, 50, you know, recruits commit to the same school in this day and age of college football? You just don't see it. No. You just don't see it. So, you know, again, hats off to Ryan Day, man. He's being ruthless. I absolutely love it.
Well, and here's the portion of our show where I'll say something nice about Ryan Day. The reason why I think that the Sayin edition is more impactful for the program and what the staff is doing than Caleb Downs is because my understanding of how Ryan Day went about this is he had a conversation with the quarterback room. He had a conversation with Aaron Nolan before doing that, which I respect. And we don't know what happened within those walls. Maybe he did. Right. Maybe the conversation wasn't very nice, but we know Ryan Day. We know that the conversation we know that the conversation was probably very flattering. Like, hey, listen, you're the dude, but he's also a dude. Let's get two dudes. You know what I mean? I don't know what all went down, but I want to give him a massive amount of credit for having a discussion, breaking that down, and still going through with it. I know that people were getting a lot of heat because when this rumor popped out that he was having a conversation with these quarterbacks, they're saying this is why Ryan Day sucks because he's weak and he's not as cutthroat as Urban was.
Right.
Well,
culture.
And I agree with that some, but also, one of the things that I like about Ryan Day, in contrast to Urban Meyer, is that he does seem to have a unique he's a likable guy. He's a nice guy. Guys are never going to leave Ohio State and talk crap about Ryan Day. You hear guys all the time talk about leaving Ohio State and hating Urban Meyer. That's not going to happen with Ryan Day. Right. Does that win you games? No. But that is something that he should have a feather in his cap for. He's going about the right way. I think it's very cool, and he's still able to pull in what he's pulling in. I think that the NIL, everybody's talking Ohio State paying players, and everybody's going there or doing this because Ohio State's got the biggest bags of cash. That's not true. That's somewhat true. Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, USC, they all have the same. The bags all weigh the same, but you still have to have the environment, the coaching staff thing. You still have to have something to push you forward, right? No one's bringing out a bag of cash like an NFL first-round pick. That's not happening.
There's not $10 million getting thrown around now.
Exactly, right? So if these kids are getting, let's say, this is just me making up a number. If Caleb Downs got $3 million, that's probably what Georgia offered as well.
Which he probably didn't. Let's be real here. He probably didn't. That's probably not.
No, I'm just making up a number. I'm just making up a number. But whatever number Ohio State gave him, he was going to get that at Georgia or USC. He came to Ohio State because he came to Ohio State. Now, was he considering Ohio or Miami, Ohio, or Akron? No, he was not. But if you could come to the table, he was listening. So I want to give Ryan Day credit for that too, because I don't feel like people are and I understand the age day of the NIL, all you see is the dollar signs, but that's Ryan Day is bringing these guys home. He's crossing the finish line. So I do want to give him credit for that.
Yeah, and you have to think about it this way as well. He retained 7 or 8 of the top guys to come back.
Yeah.
So a lot of the NIL money is going to those guys. It's not going to these new guys. Look, they've said it before and they'll say it again. They didn't want to pay for guys, who aren't proven talents, right? And that's why I don't think that, a guy like Julian Sands is going to get a ton of cash to come to Ohio State.
No.
I think that the narrative that Ohio State is pay for play, I think that's incorrect. I don't think that's right. I think it's more along the lines of, hey, look, we'll give you the opportunity to come here and sign deals. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, well, the first people who announce it were like the foundation and the 1860 Society, whatever. But yes, that does play a part into it, and it plays a part into everybody's signing. I mean, look at what Justin Scott, who was a former Ohio State commit, obviously flipped to Miami. Look at his commitment photo was him with piles of cash and bills falling from the sky. Like, you see any Ohio State commit having that kind of edit?
No,
they're not.
No,
they're not. So I think that narrative is just ridiculous.
I want to. If that's how you feel and that's how you see it, I understand. I don't think that people that have, I don't think it's, use your word ridiculous to think that. I just think that it's hard to follow. If you're if you're not watching and paying attention to Ohio State football, I understand why you think the way you are.
Right.
But to those of us that have been following it, it's in Ohio State. Ohio State has a ton of money and they're paying these guys to play football. But you said it best. It's not necessarily pay to play, but it's definitely pay to stay.
Right.
So that's where, and you're right. Most of the money is going to pay those guys, JTT, Jack Sawyer,
Travion,
those Mecca, Buka, those guys are getting paid. Those guys are making more money than me and you combined.
Exactly.
That I can guarantee. But these freshmen, no, they're maybe Jeremiah Smith may have been promised a Bentley from a local car dealership. Edric Houston, maybe maybe Byers Motors got on the line and promised a connection. But I can assure you that those guys are probably they're not. He's not making as much as Marvin Harrison will. That's just he's not going to make as much as Parnell Tate. He's just not.
Maybe eventually he will, but they're not
right.
No way.
Yeah. And I would be willing to bet that Julian Sane is not making more than Aaron Noland. I would be willing to bet that.
No, I would definitely say that because, there's a lot that goes into, when you commit and then working deals out with those NIL foundations and, all that stuff. So, yeah, I think that narrative, and I think a lot of it is, it's the SEC being angry about Ohio State coming into SEC country and grabbing these guys.
Yeah.
And let's be real here. It's not normal. It's just not normal. Ohio State's doing something like teams usually like SEC guys, maybe they'll transfer to another SEC school, right? They're transferring interconference. But you're just not seeing guys from the South come up north. I mean, how many, even Michigan, like Michigan's not getting those SEC guys, right? Ohio State's really the only team. So I think that's why the SEC is like, part of the SEC is complaining and Michigan's complaining. A lot of Michigan fans, a lot of SEC fans. They're like, well, Ohio State's just playing them just to come and play. I don't think that's the case. I really don't.
In all honesty, if you really look at and I want to go back to my previous statement as well, too, because Ohio State is paying these transfers. I'm sure that there was Will Howard's getting a check.
100%.
But like you said, they're not paying guys that are unproven. But to your most recent point about the SEC thing, it's not that Ohio State, it's not that these other schools aren't getting SEC talent. It's because they are. I mean, you can see it. This is the first time because Nick Saban left. We've so far in this era of college football, we have not seen the abundance of talent hit the portal because one of the best teams in all of college football, their head coach retired. So there's a mass exodus of these guys that are top of the line recruits, guys that are fourth-year starters, potential first-round picks. We've never seen that. Right, your typical SEC guys, Tywone Malone, Davison Igbinosun, and maybe Nebraska didn't even want those guys, right? But they brought it, those guys because those guys weren't stars at their previous SEC school. So it's not that I don't think that these guys. I mean, Indiana's quarterback was the highly touted quarterback from Tennessee.
Tavion Jackson. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's not like they're not getting those SEC talent. I don't think that's it. I think that they're upset. Because this has never happened. It's never happened, and Ohio State has jumped on it. Ryan Day is and it's one of the crazy things, too, where all the stars are really aligning for Ryan Day to prove all of his haters, i.e. me, wrong. Because Nick Saban has retired, which makes both college football, it makes the title easier to win, and it also makes it harder to pick apart. Because even if Kalen DeBoer's a great coach, which I think he's I think he's the best coach in college football, this roster is done so. It's got couch, dude. He can't. He's not going to win. He's not going to win 10 games at Alabama, bro. It'd be impossible.
At least,
but he's got a great opportunity. He's got a great opportunity. Bad schedule. Nick Saban retiring, the NIL stuff, those guys, foundations are starting to figure their shit out. It's just the stars are aligning for Ryan Day.
They really are, and he's taking full advantage of it. And like you said, when have we really seen a generational coach like that leave, and for a team to get gutted like that? We haven't.
Never. It's never been allowed, right?
No, I mean, at least not yet. This is obviously a new era of college football. There's a lot more movement. A lot more players are entering the transfer portal. And, Ohio State realized what was going on, and they said, screw it. Let's add what talent we can, and let's continue to add talent. And they're still abiding by the 85 scholarship rules. It's not like they, went out and grabbed 15 guys from the portal. 6. They have 6 guys from the portal. And, I think a lot of players, a lot of people are kind of they're complaining. Well, Ohio State is going out and paying players. Well, this is a quantity over quality, or a quality over quantity type of situation where they went out and got great players. They went out and got elite players, and they didn't go out and just get some random dudes like Will Kazmarek. It's okay, he's solid, he's good, but he's not what those other 5 guys are.
But that's also not a bad that addition is slept on. That is, I don't want to say that's what I don't like the transfer portal, so I definitely don't want to act like I like the transfer portal. But that, if in my eyes, that is the cool thing about the transfer portal, is because a guy like that, probably grew up an Ohio State fan, went to Ohio.
100%. Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? He was finally good enough to get an offer from. Yeah, he used the MAC as a minor leagues. That's pretty cool. You're seeing a mass exodus from some of these top-notch quarterbacks from the FCS do the same thing, because those guys weren't very good. They had to go to the FCS, gain 25 pounds, whatever the issue was. And now, I think it was Poffenberger, the quarterback from Albany, is going to be playing at Miami. That's pretty cool. So, even those smaller school guys, they have their role, and that's pretty inspiring. Everything Ohio State has done, there's been a reason behind it. They're not just grabbing guys like Nebraska was last year,
right? Or like what Colorado is doing. I mean, the Colorado signed 5 or 6 guys, right? And they've signed 25 portal guys. That's just the way that they're working through what they're doing. And to me, at the end of the day, it was the fact that not it's the fact that they went out and got the right guys to add to the
100%.
It's not like they were just going out and just getting like just dudes. Like we all want another offensive tackle, and right? Like maybe, well, is it going to happen? It might. We don't know, because that 30-day window, for players to jump into that transfer portal after a coach moves on, that's still there for Alabama. We don't know. Maybe more guys will leave and have another opportunity to get another guy. Now, they missed out on Caden Proctor. That was a guy that we talked about last week. He ended up going back to Iowa, which doesn't surprise me at all because at one point in time he was committed to Iowa. So
yeah,
that's it's in it. Like everyone's like, if you were paying attention to, he had an interview over the weekend, and he's like, yeah, Iowa reached out to me over the, in the middle of the season there when he was struggling. They're like, hey man, like, everything's going good. We're still thinking about you, all this and that. And everyone's like, oh, tampering. No, he's known those coaches forever. He didn't commit to that program because he just wanted to. He committed there because he felt like he could achieve his goals there. And yeah, he obviously ultimately ended up flipping to Alabama late in the process. But it's not like all these coaches are just like random dudes that are getting into his DMs. He has a legit long-term relationship with these guys. And I don't think that's tampering. I think a lot of, there is tampering that's going on. And I think that a lot of players, you could probably say like, yeah, that guy's tampering, this guy's tampering. But at the end of the day, it's not. I don't think it is. I think that that's the wrong aspect to take of it. And, because like, let's be real here. A lot of these recruits, it's not like they get one offer, two offers. They're getting 30 offers, 40 offers, 50 offers, and they're talking to all sorts of coaches. Yeah. And right. And they know these guys. They have relationships with these coaching staffs. That's another thing that we're going to get into in just a minute. Julian saying one of the reasons why he thought that Ohio State was a good place for him, Bill O Brien, who initially offered Julian Sayin as a junior out of high school. Bill O Brien, who is the new offensive coordinator for Ohio State. Bill O Brien. It's college football is a lot about relationships. And the fact that Ohio State has created those relationships with some of these prospects and capitalized on it, is that their fault? No, it's not. And neither it is with any of those other teams. Look at all those Washington transfers and decommits that are going to Alabama. Why are they going to Alabama? Because their coach, Kalen DeVore, is now coaching at Alabama. And I don't see anybody throwing up arms about that. It's the same thing. And the reason why people are getting angry is because it's Ohio State. And we're the evil empire. We're the Yankees.
Well, Ohio State hasn't been accused of tampering.
A million titles,
Right, though. Ohio State has not been accused of tampering, though. That was an Iowa story.
No, I'm just saying in general. In general.
Yeah.
So yes, there's no tamper at this point in time. I mean, a lot of Michigan fans are like, oh, you went out and like paid for all these players. Well, guess what? Ohio State has 3 less current portal commits than Michigan did last year. And what Michigan did also as well is they got players to return, right? And that's what Ohio State's doing. Yet somehow when Ohio State's doing it, it's different than when Michigan's doing it. And now it's about the culture thing. Well, let's be real here. If it was about a culture thing, then all those players who could have went to the NFL that we named off earlier, they'd be gone. They wouldn't have returned. And that speaks very highly of the culture that Ryan Day has established in Columbus. People want to stay and play for him. They're not just going off. Yeah, we all expected Marvin Harrison Jr. to leave, right? That's not a surprise. Like, the dude has nothing else to prove in college.
He has.
And that 2 years of elite play. There's right, like, dude's got to go.
Staying would be a detriment for him.
Right. If you're a top 3 pick, no, get out of here. Right. Like you don't need to stay in college, But if you're a fringe guy, which some of those guys were, like Jack Sawyer, do we really see Jack Sawyer's name pop up in a lot of first round mobs? No,
not at all.
We see Travion Henderson's. He was probably going to a 3rd, 4th round pick. JTT, he's probably really the only guy that had an argument about whether or not he should go or stay, because he probably be a back end 1st round pick in my eyes. And it's not due to production, because we've all seen what he's done over the past 2 years. It's a lot of it is based off of the insane game that he had against Penn State, right? So at the end of the day, I think that does speak a lot about the culture at Ohio State. And it is a strong culture. And it's not just about going out and getting mercenaries like everyone says that they're doing. This is not it. That's not what that is. This is about going out and getting players that fit your system, that work well with the other players that are meshing. I read like they had a team meeting the other day, and everyone was on board with it. When you get new coaching staff to come in, a lot of times, the board's set back at zero. And I think a lot of players are excited about that because especially offensive linemen, right? There's a lot of talented offensive linemen that Ohio State have that haven't played, like Luke Montgomery. And like that guy, like they talked him up like so much and he barely played. And should Luke Montgomery probably have been the guy instead of Enoch Pamahi in the Cotton Bowl? Yeah, probably, right? But that didn't happen. And so I think that getting a fresh start, getting an opportunity to, play for Bill O Brien, and we'll see what happens with Justin Fry. His contract, if you didn't know, his contract ends in about a week. It ends at the end of the month. So could he be let go? I mean, there's still one more coach that needs to get hired. At the current moment, James Laurinaitis is out there on the recruit show. And I love seeing Little Ham on the recruiting show. Absolutely love it. He is a great recruiter. He's the one that boomed right before Caleb Downs made his announcement, which like everyone's like, oh, Laurinaitis said boom, like what's going on here? And immediately, like half hour later, we got the news that Downs had committed. So I love the fact that he's out there. Will they make him a full-time coach? I don't know. But I think he's a possibility.
We're thinking so.
Yeah, I mean, we're thinking so. Or they go out and, they find LJ's replacement and have him on the staff and continue to keep Laurinaitis, as a staff member, but obviously not as on the road recruiting staff member. So it's such a good vibe that Ohio State has right now that I love it. I'm just very, very excited about what could come of this for the Buckeyes.
Yeah. And one last thing before we move on to our next topic, the mercenary thing. Even if they are, I don't care. This is the day and age of college football. You know what I mean? Like we're going to be good. Like, this is it, man. Like, whatever, you know what I mean? So,
I mean, the transfer portal is mercenary 101.
What are you supposed to do? If you ignore it, you're going to be Clemson. You can't. Yeah. Right? I mean, I hate the transfer portal. I'll be the first to say I think that the transfer portal is ruining college football. But dude, I'm not going to tell my head coach not to use it. You know what I mean? Like that's stupid. That's like,
you're missing out.
It's there. You have to use it.
Who wouldn't want the 6 guys that the Buckeyes got out of the transfer?
That's what I'm saying.
Every school across the nation, aside from maybe Kashmir, almost the other 5, everybody would have taken. Literally. Yeah. So I don't understand this whole thing. This whole narrative that Ohio State has been there and they're just going out hiring players. Everybody's doing it. It's what college football is right now. They're just finally. And this is the first season where Ohio State's actively like gone after like legit dudes. Like, and I think that's the thing. Is that previously they're going after projects. Davison Igmanosin, did we expect him to start right away? Like, no, but was he a depth piece? Yes, right? Like guys like that, like Sonny Styles. Like we went out and grabbed him from Notre Dame, and he played at Notre Dame, and he played a lot at Notre Dame. But did he play here year one? No. And yes, there was
Lorenzo Styles Jr.
Lorenzo Styles Jr. Yes, there was a position change going on with that, but at the end of the day, like he didn't play, and that's the difference between last year's transfer portal and this year's transfer portal for Ohio State. They're going after guys that are going to play immediately and they're going to make a monster impact. And again, and that's Ryan Day looking at himself in the mirror and saying, dude, you have the opportunity to go out and get these kind of players. Go get them, man. Go get them. And he went out and got them.
Absolutely.
All right. So we kind of touched on it a little bit before, but Ohio State has made a move at their offensive coordinator, hired Bill O Brien, former offensive coordinator at Alabama, working under Nick Saban, New England Patriots, working under Bill Belichick. I mean, former head coach at Penn State. Dude's been calling plays forever. People didn't like it. Josh, your take on it.
Let me tell you why those people are wrong. Okay. Now it's funny because I was this to me was I don't want to say it might have been the most exciting part of the offseason for me. I've been complaining about Ryan Day forever. You know, his entire coaching staff is yes, man. If you listen to this podcast, all three of our listeners know Bill and I've been saying, right? So I don't need to go into any more details. But Bill O Brien is the perfect hire. He is the perfect hire. And if you want proof that I'm not just being a homer, go check out the podcast from 2 weeks ago when we were talking about the Penn State's demise and James Franklin. And I defended Bill O'Brien and said he did a massive job at Penn State after the death penalty, the death penalty. Yeah. This is a great hire. This is a great hire. Ohio State fans have been messaging me constantly talking about how I'm stupid, and they are wrong. Here's the situation. This is not a head coach, okay? This is the offensive coordinator, all right? They're not going to go get Kalen DeBoer to be the offensive coordinator. They're not going to go get – I don't know. There were some of the names that were floating out were guys that were going to be head coaches, right? They were like, dude, that's not realistic, right?
That's
if you look at the real – Huh?
That's past O'Brien. I don't think he wants to be head coaching.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
right.
The list of candidates was let's be Bill O'Brien, Jason Candle, Joe Brady, Brian Johnson, and that's about it. Those were the list. Those are the four candidates that we've been hearing a lot about. First of all, every single person, no one was happy with any of those choices, but that's what you're going to get as an offensive coordinator. You're going to get a guy that has bumps and bruises. That's why he's a coordinator, not a head coach. Okay. Right. But Bill O'Brien has the least bumps and bruises and the most success of any of those candidates. You're talking about a guy who took over Penn State after a molestation scandal. It's the worst thing ever in college football history.
Pretty much the death penalty. As
it's the worst thing that's ever happened in college football. He took over that team, had 2 winning seasons with them. Was the college football coach of the year.
Matt McGloin was his quarterback.
The Big Ten coach of the year. Okay. That he had 2 winning records where they just cut their scholarships in half. Okay. This is the guy who recruited Christian Hackenberg, who was supposed to be the next coming of Jesus himself. Okay. Right. Like, and we saw what Hackenberg could actually do. Okay. Then he goes on to the Houston Texans. And everybody's like, oh, he was terrible at the Houston Texans. He was terrible at the Houston Texans. First of all, he was a head coach. And please double check this. Okay. I'm trying to pull it up while I run my mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 whole seasons. 6 whole seasons. He was an NFL head coach. He won the division 4 times. He won the AFC South 4 times of his 6 years. That is, he left the NFL with a winning record. Do you know who wishes they had that NFL head coaching career? Urban Meyer and Nick Saban. Yeah, that's who wishes that they had in the NFL career.
54 and 52.
Dude, it's like, what? So you can make fun of the Houston Texans debacle and his time management and, his teams being boring to watch, but he won games and and that was in the NFL. He's going to be our offensive coordinator. Dude, that's a great hire. Then he went to Alabama, and these guys Alabama fans want to complain about him being the score. Bill O'Brien coaches like an NFL coach. It's slow, it's steady, it's methodical. He runs a play on first down, thinking about what he's going to play on third down, right? Which is the opposite of what Ryan Day does. Ryan Day calls every play like it's going to score a touchdown. He calls every play like I call an NCAA 14. Right.
Which is fine.
That's not that's not how the real world works. And people in Alabama were getting frustrated. Well, first of all, they averaged 40 points a game. Okay. Yep. And their quarterback won the Heisman freaking trophy. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then that quarterback went on to the pros and he's pretty much, I mean, I don't want to call him a bust because that's unfair, but he's pretty much a bust. Okay.
Yeah. Year one was bad for Bryce Young. Very bad.
Really bad. Really bad. And then if you look at the talent he had at Alabama, he gets there right when all the wide receivers leave. Okay, and everybody's complaining about the offensive line play. First of all, the offensive line was still really good at Alabama. It was still really good. Yeah, there was a slight
offensive line at Alabama was great every year.
And the wide receivers, I'm not going to blame him for the wide receivers taking a dip. You can't have 3 first-round picks every year in your wide receiver core. So some of those things that they're complaining about, well, yeah, I mean, I guess you can't if you're Ohio State. Some of those things, but eventually that's going to come to an end too, right? Like you just can't do it. But
Maybe.
So some of those things that people are complaining about are just completely unfair to me. And then they're like, oh, well, he sucks with the Patriots. Yeah, the Patriots suck. He's not a miracle worker. If the Patriots were good, he'd be the head coach.
Name me one wide receiver from New England.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. What was like Kendrick Bourne, the dude who played the best wide receiver, I believe, played rugby in Australia, bro. Like, you know what I mean? They had Malik Cunningham taking snaps at quarterback, and that dude sucks. That dude, the USFL, 100%. He was so bad the USFL drafted him. Now, and and I understand, I'm not defending him being crappy with the Patriots. The offense did suck with the Patriots, but if the offense was good, he wouldn't be the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. He'd be the head coach of the Chargers, right?
Right.
Like, some of the we're not talking about a head coach. We're talking about an offensive coordinator. We're not even talking about like the defense. Ryan Day has control of the offense. You need a guy who's an experienced head coach who has experience. Check. You need a guy who is used to running a more steady, slow-paced offense that can slow him down, allow him, give him his 2 cents about, critical situations. Check. Like that's, you need a guy with a little bit of fire. Everybody, Bill O Brien, everybody remembers him flipping off the fans, the Texans. That check.
Love it.
You know what I mean?
Love it.
I love Ryan Day, but when he was talking, his big highlight for him pulling a man card was him yelling at an 80-year-old man and his voice cracking. Right? Bill O'Brien is gonna get, if he yells, you're gonna listen. I love it. I literally do not think there could have been a better hire for this position. I really don't. There would have been a couple guys I would have been happy with, Joe Brady, Brian Johnson. Right. And again, I want to reiterate, even when I had positive things to say about them, everybody crapped all over, even Jason Campbell. But I'm excited about him. He's a great hire. It's a great hire. I really think that Ryan Day reflected about his weaknesses when he made that decision, which makes me hopeful that this is going to be the year.
Yeah, I've changed my tune. Obviously I wasn't super excited about it when you brought him up at the first go around. But digging a little bit deeper. Matt McGloin made big strides with him. Hackenberg. Yeah, I think he was overrated. Bryce Young, Heisman. Like, let's be real here. And from what I've seen on, they've already met with the team. He's already had a chance to meet with the team. He, obviously. His pull brought Sayan in, which is huge, right? We've gone over that already. And then on top of that, this is not like he's bringing in Bill O'Brien's offense. He's running Ryan Day's offense. Apparently, and I can't confirm this, but the rumors that I've heard are that he is learning Ohio State's terminology so that they're not going to change anything. The players don't have to relearn all of the calls and all of that. He's taking time.
Confirm it.
Exactly.
That's confirmed. Confirm it. Okay. Oh yeah, I mean everybody's been talking about that. So I would consider that a done deal.
Absolutely awesome. I love the fact that he's also, like I said before, he's giving everybody a clean slate. I don't care if you played or not. You have a clean slate. You show me you can get on the field, and I'll get you on the field. Earn it. Go out and earn it. And I love that. I like the reset. It makes so much sense. What also makes sense is that most likely he should be in the pockets, right? He's going to get that bird's eye view because that's what they did not have this past season with Ryan Hartline. Ryan Hartline was on the field. Ryan Hartline isn't seeing coverages. He isn't seeing what they're doing, the movements, the motions, how they're trying to disguise things. Bill O'Brien has that experience. I love Brian Hartline. I think he's a great wide receivers coach. Was he ready to be a real big-time offensive coordinator? No. He was. Is Bill O'Brien? Yes, he is.
Been there, done that.
Exactly. And the experience factor, now this pulls Ryan Day away from being that main play caller to being more of a CEO of the program. During the Cotton Bowl, one of the questions that was asked to Eli Drinkwitz was, why has your program made such a quick leap? And Drinkwitz is, to be concise with his answer, he said he let his coordinators do his thing. He became more of a CEO of the program. Ryan Day is now able to do exactly what Drinkwitz is doing. He's able to become that CEO. He doesn't have to have his hands all over the offense. He can go and do different things. He can be a different type of leader with this team. He could focus on getting them prepared and getting them ready to go up against certain teams. Will he still have his hand dipped a little bit in the offense? Yeah, sure, he will. But will it ultimately be a lot of him and Bill O'Brien going back and forth? I think yes, because he didn't have that. Could you really trust Brian Hartline to go back at Ryan Day and say, hey, man, this is not the play you should be calling in this situation? No,
exactly.
I don't think you had that last year, but you have that in 24. You have that voice. You have that veteran voice is exactly what this offense needed. Because as we saw this year, the offense sputtered. Was there talent? Yes. Did Kyle McCord pretty much just throw to Marvin Harrison Jr.? Yeah. Was it very obvious when they were going to run the ball? Yeah. I mean, like, come on. We could sit there, in front of our TV and be like, run left, run right. It was too obvious. And that's part of the issues that Ryan Day had. And now that's not on his plate. That's on Bill O'Brien. He can lean on somebody to help him do that. And yeah, okay, I do think that in clutch situations, I think Ryan Day is going to have a bigger say in what kind of plays that they're going to run.
And he should. And
I agree with
you.
Yeah. But now, Bill O'Brien has that veteran voice, a ton of experience to say, hey, that's not the right play. Do this instead. Do that instead. And I love it. I think that it's a smart, and going out and, the way that they did it, and the way that they made the move, I think was super smart. Obviously getting rid of Parker Fleming too. I think we've really, we've overhashed that. But I think that special teams mistakes over the course of the last 3 or 4 years since Parker Fleming has been running, it has been just absolutely terrible. And to make that change to move Fleming, and actually Fleming stayed on the staff. He got demoted, which you kind of wonder, like, it's kind of weird.
He did?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
because I saw Corey Dennis basically is like an analyst now. I figured.
Yeah. So
made a call.
Yeah, I believe so. I might be wrong on that one, but I thought I read that. And if that's the case, man, you've still got a little bit of voice. Unless he's completely gone, but I would not let him touch special teams anymore. But either way, like to make that, if that's the trade that we're going to make, the Buckeyes win that trade 100 times out of 100.
Here's why I think everybody hates on it is because it's really fun to look. Everybody wants the new shiny toy. It's really fun to want like the new up and coming thing. That's one of the reasons why Ryan Day was so attractive for this head coaching gig, because it's like, man, this guy, if he's good, he's going to be here for 60 years and he's going to change college football. That's what you do with every young guy, and that's what you're looking for with an offensive coordinator. But we don't need that. We have that. We have that with Ryan Day. We have that with Brian Hartline. Like we don't. Justin Fry is also a guy with not a whole lot of experience. We needed the old guy to come in there and wrangle up the young guys. So it's perfect. He's got. The hate is just. The hatred towards what he did in the NFL is so wild to me when there's such a long list of successful college coaches that did way worse in the NFL. It's almost like, let me ask you this. If you didn't know who Bill O'Brien was, and I just gave you a resume with like his win losses, his stats, his latest stops, I think 90% of people would be like, yeah, that sounds like a great candidate. Right? But then as soon as you see Bill O'Brien, you go, oh no. It's kind of like they feel like it feels like Creed or Nickelback, where like for some reason it's like everybody craps on them, but they all listen to him in their car. Like they don't change the channel. You know what I mean? Like everybody, oh, I hate Creed, but you know every word to every song. It's like, okay, bro. That's how Bill O'Brien feels. It's just kind of fun to hate on him. But yeah, man, I'm excited about it.
No, I'm very excited about it. And actually, I apologize. I was incorrect about the Fleming stuff. That was Corey Dennis, like you said. I apologize.
Yeah, because I was gonna say like, well,
I apologize for that. I got my analysts and coaches wrong there. I apologize.
It's easier. Here's how I remember. It's the one who's related to Urban.
There we go. Yeah,
that's the one who did research.
It's his son-in-law. It's his son-in-law, right? It's not necessarily experience. It's who you know, and he knows somebody. If
you're related to Urban Meyer,
and he knows somebody. He knows somebody. Right. Yeah. All right, Josh. Before we wrap it up, we want to touch on one last little thing. It looks like Jim Harbaugh might be off to the NFL. There's some rumors today that looks like he is going to be. He's like on the verge of signing a contract with the Los Angeles Chargers. Initial thoughts on this rumor? Does it actually happen? Because we've heard multiple rumors about Harbaugh going to the NFL over the past few years. Is this the actual time where he leaves, or is this just more rumors that we're hearing?
This is it, man. He's gone. He's gone. From everybody I know that says he's going to the Chargers. You know, I'm kind of, it's bittersweet. I want him to leave because Ryan Day's he's really up in Ryan Day's head. So I think this will be a good help Ryan Day's fresh slate. At the same time, I'd really like to beat Harbaugh one more time.
Oh yeah.
But that's selfish of me. I want, you know what I mean? Like I want the easy route.
I'm in that now. Fuck that easy route. Excuse, pardon my French. I do not want that. I want to hand him one last ass beating before he writes off the NFL.
It's always the time of the year where I feel bad for Michigan fans because he doesn't want to be there. He's an NFL coach. That's one of the reasons why he's a really good coach. He's a really good football coach. He's probably the best football coach in college football, but he's not the best college football coach because he doesn't like the recruiting. He doesn't like the trade. You can just tell he doesn't. He just doesn't. He's an NFL coach. He wants to go in there, do the X's and O's, and comes home, and that's respectable, and I understand that. You know, he's been hunting for a job in the NFL ever since he got there, dude. He's been every year. And Michigan fans say, "Oh, he's doing it for negotiating power." He's doing it for negotiating power. The dude took a pay cut in 2020. That was 4 years ago. He didn't do this. He's not doing this for negotiation. He wants out. He wants out of the college game. I don't think he hates Michigan or anything. He just doesn't want to be he doesn't want to be in college anymore. But you know, I saw some Michigan fan talk about how like, oh, it's so sad that the Ohio teams always have to. They said something about the off-season warriors. Isn't that sad? And I'm thinking, bro, like the only reason you're not excited about the off-season every year is because your head coach.
You know what's coming. You know what's coming.
Every year he's taking interviews. Every year he's taking interviews, man.
And it's not just him leaving as well. The sanctions are coming too. They're coming. Yeah, they're coming. Like, let's be real here. At the NC, come on. You don't fire coaches because in the middle of the season, in a championship season, because something wasn't right. You know, like there's a reason why they let go of those guys because they were wrong. They got hit. There's a reason why they didn't, you know, like they were trying to put a stop to, you know, the second suspension that Harbaugh served when he obviously wasn't on the sidelines against Ohio State. There's a reason why they do all these things. The NCAA can't vacate championships unless they actually happen. I think this one's going to get vacated. I think they know it. I think he knows. And guess who he's supposedly bringing with him? Defensive coordinator Jesse Minter. It was clearly a Stallions dude. I mean, if you see all those videos on the sidelines, Stallions was right next to him, you know, telling him what was going on. Like, he was in part of this as well. So what my biggest thing is that I think he's leaving too. And he knows. He sees the writing on the walls. He sees, you know, the scholarship reductions, the bowl bans, you know, it's all coming. It really is. And, you know, they're not going to get the death penalty. Are they going to get a harsh penalty? Yeah, I do think that they're going to get a harsh penalty. But he knows it's coming. They know it's coming. Why would he stick around? Why would he ask the university on this contract extension that's been sitting on his desk for months now? Why would he ask for immunity if they got sanctions?
Exactly.
Why would he do that? Why would he do that? Like, explain to me. Like, I want to have a legit rationale as to, from any Michigan fan, any Michigan beat writer, anybody, why would somebody ask for that if they weren't guilty? He's guilty.
I agree.
And he knows it. And he knows that if he stays in Ann Arbor, things are going to happen. And he wants assurance that he won't get fired.
I agree.
He's gone. He's gone. He's gone. And like you said, and I don't think it's selfish of you, I think a lot of Buckeye fans would love to get that one last chance to shove it down his throat. Because I think this year is turning out to be the year that, the rivalry is probably going to make its turn again. Because,
dude, you know how upset we'd be if they lost to Michigan again, and it was just because Harbaugh. Because this team is clearly going to be better, right? This Ohio State team is clearly going to be.
It has to. Yeah. Almost has to.
So the only reason that they would lose to Michigan is because he is up in his head, right? That's the only way.
But I
Are
think
we
at this
right?
point in
This
time,
team is
he's
so
not.
good.
He can't be though. He can't be with the addition of O'Brien. You know the other moves. Matt Gary coming in as safeties coach. Like he's bringing in new voices. So it's like all
He
those other
is,
guys that
but
were there. All those other guys that were there. I think that helps. That helps push him past this. You know, again, it goes back to what I talked about earlier. Is that this allows him to be more of a CEO of the program as opposed to a play calling head coach,
I agree.
they don't win championships, right? I think that is going to get past him because now he's looking at it. It's like, well, I called a perfect play and they knew exactly what was coming. And what can I call now? Because if they know, if I call this play and I know it's going to work due to what their defensive alignment is, yet they shift out of it and they know exactly what's coming, then how can I call this game? And I think now he doesn't have to worry about it. That's not on his plate anymore. That's on O'Brien's plate. I think that alone would help the mentality if they faced him again. I would love it.
I would agree. I would agree with that. I really do.
And I don't think you're being selfish when you said that. I don't think so because I think a lot of Buckeye fans feel the exact same way. I think they want one more shot. And I'd love to see him stay to get that shot, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think so either.
I don't think that's going to happen. All right. Anything else you got, Josh?
No, man. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Keatley16. Make sure that you give us a like, listen, follow. I need to do a better job of pumping this out, making sure it's out in a timely manner. We're trying to move this thing over to YouTube, and YouTube. I've had enough failed podcasts in the past year. I guess YouTube has got me flagged. So, but we're now rocking and rolling. We're going to be posting these weekly. We're also going to try to figure out how to get the audio back onto Spotify as well. So hopefully things are rocking and rolling and moving forward. I know we do have a couple listeners. A couple people did reach out to me. So when I said
Appreciate
3 before, I was joking, but only half joking. But hopefully we can get some more engagement as well. Hit us up. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got, man.
Yeah, that's all I got as well. Make sure you read both of our all of our stuff over there at Buckeyes Wire. We're cranking out content every day. I'm about to jump on and watch that basketball game here. The Buckeyes finally broke their 3-game losing streak. They're looking to break their road losing streak. I believe it's at 12 games at the current moment. The Big Ten road losing streak. That's something. If you were a bigger Buckeye fan, Buckeye basketball fan, Josh, I think we'd chat about that a little bit more. I'm cool with just keeping it football. I'm cool with keeping it football.
Listen, as a man who's barely 5'8", basketball is not something I could connect with. But you know what? I'm open to bringing on a guest. If you got a guest.
I'm a little dude too, man. I'm 5'10", 5'11", so it's not like I'm like stretching it out on the courts, but I used to, back in my heyday, I could throw it down every once in a while. So
okay.
I played a good amount of hoops back in my heyday, and I wasn't too bad. I'm not gonna say I was the greatest, clearly, but not too bad.
Once we hit the dead period, I do think it'd be a good idea to bring on some. I know you got some basketball connects too, so we'll definitely do that. If you guys do want to hear more basketball, let us know, and we'll make it happen.
Definitely. All right. Well, that's it for us. We appreciate the listen once again, and go Bucks.